Hey guys. So I wanted to share something that I've been thinking a lot about these days. I'm in my mid to late 20s. And I think one thing about being in your mid to late 20s, different from being in your late teens or 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, is that you have to live the consequences of your decisions. And what that means is that I'm constantly faced with crossroads where the implications of making that decision is entirely absorbed by me. And it is my responsibility because I am not protected by my parents like a teenager. I'm not protected under the structure of society, such as university, professors, counselors, whatever. This phase is really not really talked about and shared about. We talk a lot about, friendships and whatnot, but I think the real tectonic level shift that happens in this phase of our lives is rather the amount of responsibility that we need to bear as a consequence of the decisions that we make. Remember when we were in high school, people would say, what college you go to doesn't matter because it's about life is so much more than the bachelor's degree that you got. And then once we're in college, everyone's like, the major you get doesn't matter. Who majors what you studied anyways? It's not about your major. If you went to a good enough school, that's enough. If you didn't, hustle, it's okay. It's the internships. Well, internships are not important. It's about the job you get. You can always work your way into a job. You get your first job. The first job never matters. First job out of college, who knows what you're doing? You're still experimenting, right? And then it's a cycle of doesn't matter, low consequences, it's okay, you can mistake, you're in your 20s, you're in your early 20s, try things, experiment, it's okay to fail. And then suddenly everything matters. Oh, you're in your mid to late 20s? Everything that you do right now will impact who you become when you're in your 30s, and then in your 40s, and then in your 50s. So the consequences of the decisions that I make just feel so heavy. And that really made me take a hard look into the mirror and ask myself, what are my values? Who do I want to be? Who do I look up to? What kind of life is a well-lived life? Is it fame? Is it money? Is it power? Is it prestige? Is it impact? Is it meaningful work? Is it intellectual curiosity? Is it the people? So many things that I need to think about. And in that process, what I realized is that all my life, I thought pushing myself meant pushing myself to become more of what I'm not. It's as if I told myself I'm not allowed to be who I naturally am. It's as if I truly believed that the opportunity cost of spending even a second into an area that I'm above average in is a huge waste, and that time is much better spent trying to complement my weaknesses and developing skills in areas that I'm not already good at. So in order to fulfill all of these make-believe beliefs in the name of complementing my weaknesses and becoming tougher, I chose everything on the opposite side of what my heart wanted. As a major, I chose data science instead of anthropology or psychology or architecture or all of these design, arts, social sciences that I was really curious about. As my first job, instead of working in the arts or design or something else, I decided to work in big tech. Even after I left my job, shortly after I left my job, in fact, I left my job to dive deeper into my creativities and explore my creativities. But instead, I started studying investing and venture capital. I think I was worried that it'd be a sign of weakness to double down on my strengths, especially because the strengths that I had, the areas that I naturally found myself being curious about and was good at, were in what is considered the soft skills, the right brain skills. in storytelling, in relationship building, in project managing, in writing, in creativity, in all these things that what the society doesn't seem to put a high price point on in the job market, especially. And growing up in a family full of scientists and engineers and doctors and computer scientists, I didn't really have a role model of what the strongest version of me pursuing my interests in these right brain fields were. And so naturally I was also discouraged and thought, maybe this is not where I should be. And the way that society and even universities even jokingly says about philosophy majors, they'll work at a coffee shop. Like, these kind of jokes do damage us a lot. So I thought that even if my interests were in storytelling, writing, creativity, people, relationships, whatever, I thought that growth meant throwing myself in environments where I was uncomfortable and was doing intense hours, intense pace of operations, and developing skills that are rated at a much higher rate in the job market, even if of no personal interest or inclination. But I'm starting to realize that being pushed doesn't mean being in discomfort, in intensity, in misalignment of values. You can enjoy your work and still be pushed to improve on your craft. I realized that it is not weak to follow my strengths. Rather, my weakness was continuing to choose a path that I was not fulfilled by. It was choosing a path that I did not love and continuing to not love it. It was being driven by fear in deciding all these things to fill the gap of my weaknesses and pouring in that hole that I felt, believing that if I didn't develop these weaknesses, I'll be weak. I think we as a society don't start off choosing power, money, fame, status, prestige, all these things. It starts with trying to fill the gap in our perceived deficiency, whether it's coming from an insecure place or a self-reflective place or truly trying to improve on yourself. It's always a perceived self-deficiency. For me, that deficiency, that perceived deficiency, was not being intense, trying to be more sharp, trying to be more dominant, more vigilant, more commanding, more powerful, more fierce. I don't have those characteristics naturally. I very much had to force that in order to be perceived as more respectful in this society. But I may be realizing that life is not a journey to become who we are not, or trying to have everything that we don't naturally have. Life is a journey of becoming uniquely and unapologetically the strongest version of our most authentic self. And there is a great deal of courage and comfort and strength that you find when you lean into your most authentic self. So, what I want to say is that it's okay to feel like you need to pour more effort into filling the gap of where you lack. And it's always from a good place, right? Like, I always want to be the best version of myself. I was just putting that effort into the wrong bucket. I was trying to become who I'm not. I was pushing myself to become who I'm not because I was so scared about leaning into who I am. So, yeah, I just want to say, be your authentic self. And your power is in being the strongest version of what only you can do. And there's no other you, as they say, right? And there's no other you. Only you can do you. You can't try to be another Peter Thiel. You can't try to be another Amelia Earhart. Amelia Earhart already existed. You can't be another Jonas Brothers. Jonas Brothers already did his thing. But you can be Jian Kwan. You can be writing your own story that looks very different from what Jonas Brothers or Amelia Earhart or Peter Thiel did. That's unreplicable.